Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming out to tonight's council meeting. Let the record show that Councilmember Solomon is en route and Councilmember Gonzalez is absent. We will have the invocation and we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Alvarez. Would you please stand? Most gracious Father, we thank you again for these many blessings. Father, I ask in the name of Jesus that you watch over this city, that you watch over this council and the leadership of this city, the city manager and staff, and our residents. Let this meeting be acceptable in your sight, that we do everything in decent and order, and bless our country, our men and women that serve us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Alvarez, for the Pledge of Allegiance. May I get a motion to approve the agenda? Councilmember Adams.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I second that motion.
All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. We will now have the citizen comments. Citizens, you have 4 minutes to speak on the agenda item. Council, you have 1 minute to make a statement or for clarity. Michael Fornino. Good afternoon. You have 4 minutes.
I just have a question. I was having some problems, which is unusual for me to look up stuff. I was wondering if at the close of all this, we could get a cost breakdown on consent agenda item number 2 for the execution and delivery of this water supply contract, like what the annual cost, total cost, et cetera, just so that, I don't know why it wouldn't come up on my computer or my phone, but the packet or anything that I could find, I couldn't find anything that was understandable. So I'm just curious about that.
Melissa Brown. Good afternoon. You have 4 minutes.
Good evening, Council. There are some recommended changes to the Senior Citizens Advisory Board bylaws. One of them includes that no one under the age of 55 would be able to serve. A couple issues that I take with that. One, none of our applications ask for an age other than our Youth Advisory Commission. We don't really even ask for ages on that. We just verify that they are in a school in the Killeen ISD footprints. I disagree that you have to be at least 55 to understand the needs and wants of senior citizens. When I was on the Senior Advisory Board, I had no problem with getting along with those members that were over 55, and some of the ideas that I had brought up to them, they had never thought about but were excited for. People do have education and experience in areas that also make them a valuable asset to that advisory board. For example, I worked at a nursing home as their marketing director, bringing in residents and having to work closely with the activities director. I don't think it matters what age you are. I think experience is what matters. And this is why people put in their resumes, or not necessarily their resumes, but on the application to serve on boards, it asks a question about, do you have any special training, skills, or experience that would make you suitable for this board? I think that if the council who is appointing them were reviewing that, making sure that they have the appropriate experience, then everything would be okay. Further, the council tonight on consent is going to accept 2 resolutions. One that is going to put us into more debt, but it's understandable and required at this point. We all know what just happened with Fort Cavazos and their 48-inch line, so we need to make sure that this is handled as far as the repair and maintenance, and that's all this is contributing to. We're not building anything new with our contribution. So I think it is imperative that that gets approved. And then you also have the annual audit reports. However, it's not available to the public to review. So for transparency's sake, it would be nice in the future, once the council has it, they're able to review it. It should work just like the budget, where as soon as the budget is presented to the council, it's presented to the public. Transparency is in giving that information freely. Citizens shouldn't have to request it. The media shouldn't have to request it. And some of us know how to read them. So I would appreciate in the future if that could be done, but also you're about to make a decision we can't give any true input on other than what a presentation says. So I appreciate your consideration on those items. Thank you.
Sean Price. Good afternoon. You have 4 minutes.
Good evening, Council, Madam Mayor. I just want to echo the transparency call right there. That's needed here. And helps out a lot of people. If they have questions and the evidence is right there, then it deflates the issue of conspiracy. You know, somebody doing something underhanded and everything, it's right there. They can't ask any questions. It's not supposedly hidden or whatnot. Plus, it doesn't cost money, right? Because if you come up here and you get a Freedom of Information Act, I got to pay 71 cents per page to get the information, when it should just be posted for free online. On the revisions for the Citizens Advisory Board compromise, I would say is that at least one member is at the age of senior, right? So 50 and above is what I would consider, or 55, at least one member on the board. Everybody else, it could be whatever, but at least you have that met, and you're not really fitting into age discrimination, right? So everybody has capabilities that benefit everyone, you know, relative to their age. Because they soon will be that way eventually, right? As we all will. The other thing with our, I would say, not with just the judge, right? But any of the city officials that we get, if there's a projected pay increase, that it should be part of the election, right? So does the city, you know, the residents have a say in who gets what and how much? And if they're getting well over the resident average, right, of $34,000 a year, but they're making $150,000 a year, why are they actually needing a pay increase? I mean, or cost of a living? They're well above what it costs for everybody else. So that's just, you know, if it's put to the people and they say yes, and that's part, at least, the consideration to move it forward, but for y'all to vote, I think that would be a better process in that manner. So with that, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do any council member have any comments? Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Citizen, on the first question, the annual cost is averaged at $1.3 million a year over the 20-year period. If Mr. Cagle, correct me.
Yes, sir. It was in the PowerPoint that we've done multiple times. It says city's proportionate share of the total project cost is $16,580,000. With a 20-year debt service schedule, total annual payments will average $1.3 million.
Okay. And I don't know if if we could just check to make sure that is available in the presentation to the public.
Yes, sir, it's in the packet, posted on the website, and it's been shown in this chamber multiple times.
Okay. And then and I understand reading the contract is specifically, because as we voted, specifically for the repair of the plant, not any capacity.
Our portion only goes to maintenance
Right.
projects.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams. And also, I want to make a statement in reference to our committees. The council select individuals not based on age. They select the best person to fill that position. And also for our judge, Judge Christner, each employee gets a 6% cost of living. Any job that you have, I don't care if it's at the local level, state, or federal. When an individual sign up to take a job, they want to be paid for what they have done, their worth. So all employees, get a 6% cost of living. Are there anything else for the council before we go forward? With that being said, Madam Secretary, consent agenda.
Excuse me, I filled out a form to talk about the citizens' agenda.
Sir, I don't have a form on you. Sir, I do not have a form. I will ask the secretary.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, do you have a citizen comment?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Can I fill out one now since it seems to be missing?
Sir, please stop interrupting the meeting. She does not have one. If you would like to fill out one, please fill out one, because we're still on consent agenda. Please do it. No, sir, please fill it out.
Correct. I want to speak twice.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Sir, you have 4 minutes to speak.
I would like to talk about vape shops. Even though I'm not a vape shop owner, I am highly concerned that we're doing a new ordinance that targets the vape shops. Let's talk about facts. Facts are important. During the January meeting, it was mentioned that only one community member was concerned about the vape shops. Last week, it ballooned to several committee members saying that a lot of community members were interested and concerned about the vape shop. You know the one across from the high school? I'd like to point out that I visited that vape shop. That business is closed. I'm not sure how long it's been closed, but that business is closed. The front doors are locked, the lights are off, there's several boxes strewn around. We're concerned about a vape shop that's closed, and again, something that's ballooned. It went from 5 to 11 vape shops. Also, last week, we talked about legal non-conformant. Legal non-conformant status would be given to those vape shops, those 11, that now would be grandfathered into this new ordinance. What does legal non-conformant mean? When I looked inside the Killeen City Code of Ordinances, that means it's a Class C misdemeanor, which is a monetary fine of up to, not to exceed $500. $500 a day. So now you're going to give 11 vape shop owners who are trying to make a living a fine, possibly up to $500 a day, and put a Class C misdemeanor violation on their business license. Thanks, but no thanks. Let's look at another fact. I looked at Harker Heights, Nolanville, Coppers Cove, and their ordinances. I wanted to find out if they also wanted to regulate vape shops. Strangely, they do not. I guess they understand that it's already being regulated by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Texas Comptroller, and other law enforcement agencies. Seems that Killeen wants to be the first one to raise their hand against these 11 vape shops that supposedly people are concerned about. Concerned even though you have to be 21 to enter these residences, these businesses. Now let's look at the vape shops itself. Another fact is, according to the ordinance, they have to sell 80% of the e-cigarettes in order to be considered under this ordinance. I went in those vape shops, they sell T-shirts, they sell sometimes bottles of water, soft drinks. They sell other items besides e-cigarettes. So I'm not sure why we're picking on these 11 shops that's going to balloon to more based on just the e-cigarettes. Lastly, I'd like to remind everyone that the city's own planning and commissioning disapproved this proposed ordinance 7-0. 2 minutes, good. So that means if this ordinance is passed, the vape shop owners will have to take the city of Killeen to court. A court to change the policy that right now they can ignore and cancel and do away with. If not, you're causing more roadblocks in front of small businesses. Please stop putting roadblocks and preventing small businesses to grow. Stop the madness. I presume next you're going to look at McDonald's hamburger stands and regulate those.
Madam Secretary, consent agenda, please. Did you have any comments, Councilmember Adams? Any comments, anyone? Madam Secretary, please. Thank you.
RS 24064, consider a memorandum resolution accepting the annual audit report for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2023. RS 24067, consider a memorandum resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of Addendum Number 9 to amended and restated water supply contract of April 1st, 2004 for the WCID Water System Improvements Project.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda items? Councilmember Adams.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve.
Councilmember Boyd.
Second.
Thank you both. All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. The motion carry 6-0. Councilmember Adams, did you have anything you would like to say? Thank you, sir. Madam Secretary, resolutions.
RS 24065, consider a memorandum resolution approving revisions to the bylaws for the Senior Citizens Advisory Board.
Good evening, Ms. Snook.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Would you like me to do the presentation again?
Council, would you like for her to go through the presentation?
I'm happy to answer any questions for you.
They do not have any. Thank you so
Thank you.
kindly. Can I? Okay. Do you have any questions before she take her seat? Okay, I apologize for that. Councilmember Adams.
Ms. Snook, I'm sorry, thanks. The bylaws that were presented, are these the most current ones? Because I see on the bottom, we lined through 7/15/21 and 24. That was my first question.
Yes,
And these
sir.
are the last approved?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then and I was going through, the only changes that you're recommending are the ones that are in blue, or that was being recommended?
Yes, the only recommended change is Article 3, Members, Section 3. All members of the board shall be members of the Killeen Senior Center.
Okay. Is there anything in there regarding the age?
Inherently, because there is an age requirement to be a member of the senior center,
But nothing.
yes, but not specifically in the bylaws language.
All right, I understand the inherent part. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams. Councilmember Solomon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And your recommendations would be, what was the recommendations of the
So
staff?
this is a recommendation of the Senior Citizens Advisory Board. My recommendation is to not include this in the bylaws in order to not restrict your pool of applicants to be on the board.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No.
Councilman Sagara.
One more time. I just want to make sure we're clear. So if we approve this, we're approving it based on the recommendation of the senior advisory, not the recommendation of staff, but the way you submit it to us is the recommendations on staff, right, for the bylaws, or?
I am presenting what the Senior Citizen Advisory Board is recommending to you as council, along with my recommendation is from staff, which is opposed to their recommendation.
Because of the age in the bylaws.
Because I feel like the requirement to be in the senior citizens, to be a member of the Killeen Senior Center is restrictive for your pool of applicants, because not all seniors and not all residents of the city are also members of the senior center.
So how can I fix this to make a motion to get this approved based on that, what you just said? Because I agree with you. If you're a member of the senior, you're 55. So if I say, okay, I want to make a motion just removing that part, and the only part that I need to remove is the age, right? And everything else is okay?
You would have to vote it down, and then you come back with a motion or direction. You have to vote it down first.
No, I think you can amend it, can't you? You can change it, make a recommendation.
Legal, please.
The only change to the bylaws that's being recommended here is that all members shall be members of the Killeen Senior Center. So if you want to approve that, then motion to approve. If you want to disapprove it, motion to disapprove would be appropriate. There's no other change being recommended or discussed.
That's what I'm trying to get clarified, because, I think that's the recommendation, that they're all going to be members of the senior center. And within that itself, they're going to be 55, right?
Yes, sir.
So that's the motion that I want to make. I just want to make sure that we're not including that age restriction in the bylaws, right? So how would I make that motion? I can just say, we approve the bylaws that they all are members of the senior. That's what I'm trying to get to.
You want to approve that they are members of Killeen Senior Center, but not that they have to be 55? Or?
Not that you put that in the bylaws, the age requirement.
The age requirement is not in the recommended changes to the
Okay.
bylaws. What is trying to be explained is that to be a member of the Killeen Senior Center, you have to be 55 generally. I think there are some exceptions for family members and
Yeah,
things
and
like
that's
that. but-
okay. I understand that part. It just, I'm trying to figure out what the discussion, where that age comes in the bylaws.
It's not specifically included in the bylaws, only in the membership requirements for the senior center.
And you're okay with that, right? The staff is, I'm not saying you.
No, my recommendation is to not include this as part of the bylaws.
Not to include that they have to be members. That's what you're trying.
Yes, sir, on two grounds. One ground is that you have 6 objectives for the Senior Citizens Advisory Board. Only 2 of them refer to the senior center. The mission of the board is to be proactive on issues affecting seniors within all of the city of Killeen. So that it includes things going on in senior center, but not limited to things going on at the senior centers.
How many on the board voted for this? Was it unanimous or?
We've had a couple of discussions. I don't know offhand if it was unanimous. At the first meeting, I was not present. I'm not sure offhand. Don't want to misspeak.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and make
We
a
have
motion.
3 people. You can make it, because we still have individuals that would like to speak, but
Yeah.
And Mr. Jones, I will be calling up you to hear from your perspective from the seniors. The floor is still yours. What is your
Well, I'm going to
motion?
I'm going to go with staff because I think that as a council member, I know we do have our challenges with getting members. So I'm just going to go with, make a motion that we disapprove it.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion to disapprove it?
Second.
All right. Councilmember Alvarez.
Disregard my question. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Snook. Mr. Jones.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Manager, District Attorney, and Secretary. I've been living in this world a little bit longer than the average person in this room. I'm sorry, I've been living just as long as the average person in this room. And as I grew up, certain age restriction, i.e., when you could not drink till you're 21, so I had to suffer till I was 21. Plain and simple. The United States of America says senior citizen is 55. AARP get you because they want the money. Plain and simple. A 50-year-old cannot fantasize what I done went through at 70 years old. No way in Kokomo Joe. If it is, let me know which one can do that. Because when I was born, they still had Jim Crow. And none of y'all was back there during that time. So you don't understand the ratification by age. The age puts you in that knowledge that you would never get in a book. And tends to say, everybody got the education, but experience a lot better than education in this world. I recommended that we said you had to be a member of the senior center in order to be on the board. I don't want to make sure I made my comment to the chairman and the people. You have to be 55, because a 50-year-old cannot think like a 60-year-old, because he or she have not lived that long to understand how life is. Thank you. Any question?
Councilmember Adams.
My question is again to Ms. Snook. I'm sorry, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Any Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Jones, for that
Thank you,
insight.
Mr. Jones. Thank you. If there's no more questions for him. You have a question for him?
Yes.
Okay.
So, again, thank you for that insight. If, I don't know all the members that are currently serving on the Senior Citizens Advisory Board, would this affect any of the current board members that are on there? Are there any board members on there currently that are under 55?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay, thank you, sir.
In case you do approve it, they grandfather in anyway. That's common sense, I believe. Any other question?
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Adams.
Yeah, Ms. Snook, is there a cost to join the senior center?
No, sir, there's not.
Okay.
And I would like to clarify that our current chair actually is under 55. She is present.
Is the chair present?
Yes, ma'am.
Can,
Ms. Stella Hinkson?
Would you like to speak, ma'am?
I would
Is
like to
that
know
what
from
you-
Madam Mayor about, yes, what was the vote?
Yes, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Would you please state your name for the record?
Stella Hinkson, and I'm Chair of the Senior Advisory.
Yes, ma'am. Do you have any comments on this matter?
Although it was, it was voted in, as chair, I don't get a vote, just, but I am just under the age by, I won't be 55 for another little over a year. So I am under, but I do not agree with the 55. I believe there should be a certain number on the board that is, such as Mr. Bear. And we do have a majority on the council that are. And the majority like to deal with just the senior center. I think it should be more overall as a city, and I think we should have some, in my opinion, that deal with seniors that would have experience, nurses, caregivers, anybody. If they're under the age, or maybe closer to the age, I think that would be things applicable to seniors. I think that would be, but that, like I said, that is my opinion, and the majority did vote for it. So, but that would put us against some of the objectives on the senior, on our listing. Sorry, a little nervous being up here.
Thank
Do you
you.
have any questions?
I don't have any other questions, Madam Mayor, but I do want a statement.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
The issue more so here is also procedural, because our only commission that our governing standards mandate is age is Youth Advisory Council. So I think by approving this, we're allowing the bylaws to supersede our governing standards. And the purpose of the Senior Advisory Board is to advise us on any senior issues across the city, and it's not the governing body for our senior centers. And I think we should stay away from that. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Mrs. Snook, good evening, Mayor, and our audience and everyone tonight. Mrs. Snook, I'm one of your Senior Advisory Board advisors. My question is this. If in the senior club you have to be 55 years and older to become a member, the advisory board now has a president that's under the age of 55. Does she become a member? Are we saying that if we take the age away, that anyone that comes, they can become a member?
No, ma'am. She
Okay.
is eligible to be a member of the senior center because she is married to someone who is a senior center member and is a senior.
And that's what I needed you to
It's-
state, that
it's a
there
little
is some
exception.
membership in there. You're married to someone that's 55 and older, and we don't split couples up, they come. If we vote that everyone has to be 55 years of age, we're simply taking how many seniors away? How many persons under 55 are a part of the senior membership? Do we have 10%, 1%, 5%?
I do not know that statistic offhand. I'd be happy to get it for you.
Okay, that's fine. No, it's not necessary. You've answered my question, that even though we're 55 years and older at the senior center, if you're married to a person who's 55 years and older, we do not split the family. You go under the clause of that spouse.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ms. Snook, my question to you is, when the Senior Advisory Board make these major decisions in reference to bylaws or any other thing like equipment or whatever they want to do, a trip, do the members know about it? Do they have a say on the bylaws? Do they have input on the bylaws?
Our Senior Citizen Advisory Board meetings are open to anyone who wishes to attend. They're open meetings. We do have them in the senior center. We post them so that any of the members are welcome to attend, and we have a comment period where they can provide their input if they would like to.
Yes, ma'am. All right, well, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
With that being said, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. Madam Secretary.
RS 24066, consider a memorandum resolution declaring a vacancy on the Senior Citizen Advisory Board and appointing a member to fill the unexpired term.
Thank you. Council, Ms. Snook went through the slide deck last week. Would you like for her to go through it again? No, thank you. With that being said, Councilmember Solomon, Mayor Pro Tem, you are on that committee as the council representative. What is your recommendation? Mayor Pro Tem?
I am going to give the mic to Elder Councilman Solomon.
Councilman Solomon?
Yes, my recommendations, Madam Mayor, would be to fill that position would be Rochelle Moffett.
Moffett? Okay. We have a recommendation for Michelle Moffett. Do I get a second? Mayor Pro Tem?
I second that motion.
That's the committee. All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. The motion carries 5-0. Thank you, council. Madam Secretary.
RS 24068, consider a memorandum resolution confirming the municipal court judge's annual evaluation and pay increase.
Thank you, Mr. Cagle.
Yes, ma'am. Mayor and council, you recommended a 6% pay increase for Judge Krishna.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve RS-24-068? Councilmember Adams.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve RS 24-068.
Can I get a second to the motion?
I second.
All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. Public hearing. I said public.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, I apologize. I got a little cold.
You're okay. PH 24009, hold a public hearing and consider an ordinance submitted by Lionel Reyes, case number Z2403, to rezone approximately .97 acres, being lots 1 and 2, Block 1, out of the West Cliff Estates from R1 Residential District to R2 Two-Family Residential District. The subject properties are locally addressed as 5007 and 5009 West Cliff Road, Killeen, Texas. The caption of the ordinance reads, "An ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Killeen by amending the zoning of the properties locally addressed as 5007 and 5009 West Cliff Road, Killeen, Texas, to change the zoning of lots 1 and 2, Block 1, West Cliff Estates from R1 Residential District to R2 Two-Family Residential District. Providing a savings clause, providing for the repeal of conflicting provisions, providing for an effective date."
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Council, Mr. Rivera went through the slide deck last week. Would you like for him to go back through it? Okay. Public hearing is open. Public hearing is closed. Is the applicant here, and would he or she like to speak? Can I get a motion to approve PH-24-009? Councilmember Adams.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve PH 24-009.
Councilmember Sagara.
Second.
All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. Give me a sheet. The public hearing. Mr. Price, you're on the next one. You signed up for the second one.
Okay, the second one, I don't know what that is. If that was this one.
Are we voting?
Yes, ma'am, we're still waiting on one council member to vote.
I apologize.
Did you sign it?
It's not that. It was this one.
Public hearing.
Madam Mayor, Mr. Price is claiming that he did sign up to speak.
We're going through them right now.
Okay.
Council, we cannot vote on that item yet because he did sign up for it. Mr. Price, I owe you an apology. I have to open up public comments again. Mr. Price. You have 4 minutes. Public hearing is open. You have 4
Not attempting to
minutes.
create havoc or anything like that, and I just had a question.
Yes, sir.
Because I'm against this, I would say leave the green space. It doesn't talk about the creek that's involved, so I'm wondering if this violates any part of the Texas Waterways Act. And not only that, this area is inhabited by, possums, raccoons, things like this. So I haven't seen I can't remember what it's called, environmental impact statement. I can't see where that's there in that, because this is, might have environmentally protected owl. So I'm just wondering if any of those studies were actually done and what considerations that the city made to vote this in, to have this green space actually done. And I would say a compromise would be to simply sell it to the local people, give them the option to purchase it, not develop it and leave it green. But that's just me. As for the vape stores, I'm just wondering.
Mr. Price, we're not there
okay, yeah,
yet.
so it's each, got one on each one, but thank you.
No, thank you. Public hearing closed. The motion that was on the floor was by Mayor Pro Tem, and I think a second was by Councilmember Adams. All in favor?
Madam Mayor, the motion was made by Councilmember Adams and seconded by Councilmember Sagara.
Okay, thank you for the correction. All in favor, yes. All opposed, no. Thank you for that, Madam Secretary. Motion carries 5-1. Madam Secretary. Thank you.
PH 24010, hold a public hearing and consider an ordinance amending Chapter 31 of the Killeen Code of Ordinances, providing for regulations regarding vapor stores. The caption of the ordinance reads, "An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Killeen, Texas, amending Chapter 31 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Killeen, providing for amendments to the city's land use regulations, providing for certain regulations regarding vapor stores, providing for the repeal of conflicting provisions, providing for a severability clause, providing for a savings clause, providing for publication and an effective date."
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Council, Mr. Rivera presented this slide deck last week. Would you like for him to go back through it? Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just, prior to the public hearing, so the residents have some actual facts, if the city attorney could confirm what legal nonconforming performance of the ordinance and whether that's a misdemeanor and a charge if this is approved.
No, that is not correct. Legal nonconforming does not make something automatically a misdemeanor or anything punishable by a Class C fine offense in municipal court. Illegal nonconforming use is just that, it's nonconforming to current standards, but it is legal to continue as is. You can't change it, do something different without coming into the, it's legal nonconforming as long as it continues the use that it was, as it was.
Thank you. And then on the case, whether you or Mr. Revere, in the case of the regulation of the vape shops, I know that the state regulates the sale of it, of e-cigarettes. The city regulates the location where those sales are done, as we do with any business.
Good evening, Mr. Revere.
Good evening. Yes, Councilor, through the course of zoning. So currently, as we shared last week, vape stores, vape shops are allowed in B2, B3, B4, B5, M1, and M2. If this ordinance is adopted tonight, that would be restricted to B4 and B5, also M1 and M2, and then also they could not be within 1,000 feet of a public school.
Okay. And that doesn't regulate the actual sale in the store. Thank you.
And Mr. Revere, will the business owners of the vape shop now, will they be penalized if this ordinance is passed?
No, ma'am. As the attorney said, they become legal nonconforming, they can continue to operate as is.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Revere, there were some vape shops that were grandfathered in.
So if this passes tonight, there are 11 existing vape shops that would not necessarily comply completely with this requirement. And so you could use the term grandfather, they would be grandfathered in or allowed to continue. Yes, ma'am.
And this will not have a negative effect on any small business owner. Any more questions for Mr. Revere? Thank you, sir. Public hearing is open. Karen Cochran.
Talking about vape shops, do I ask my questions to the city attorney or just to the city council itself? City attorney, did you also notice that Nolanville, Harker Heights, and Copper Cove do not regulate vape shops? Can you comment on that? City attorney, can you also mention that, confirm or deny that vape shop products can be purchased online? All right, thank you.
Mayor, the comments should be directed to the mayor.
So my question is, where's the citizens that are supposedly outraged that this building, this business is right across the street from a high school, from a public school, pardon me. Guess they didn't show up. They had 4 months to show up and tell us about their concerns, tell us about their outrage. You know, the outrage of this business that's currently closed. Did anybody at the city council go to this business? Did they notice it was closed? Apparently not. They just want to regulate, and then override what's already been disapproved by the Killeen's Planning and Zoning Commission. Sad to say, sad to say. The city council continually says, we're here to do the city business. Well, in my opinion, we're adding roadblocks to that business. Yes, you say you're for small businesses, but by approving this ordinance, you are putting a roadblock for them. Think about that small business who has employees. That business owner may not have enough money now based on this ordinance. They may have to look for a new place. Have you thought about that? Apparently not. Thank you.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to clarify that existing businesses would be legal non-conforming, which means they're able to stay where they're at. They're not going to be affected. They don't have to pay any fees, any fines. They're going to continue living their lives the way they've been living them. So please don't come up here and spew scare tactics. So let's keep it real. Thank you.
Councilmember Board.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to further clarify that they would be legal non-conforming. Thank you.
Melissa Brown.
Every time I've read through the proposed revisions to this ordinance, it gets a little bit worse for me. Not only does it not apply to all schools, which is contradictory to the stated purpose of this, which is keeping vapes out of reach of youth and away from the schools. So charter schools such as the Richard Milbourne Academy do not fall under this. Private schools such as St. Joseph's School would not fall under this ordinance. It's only Killeen ISD, and I'm really curious as to why. Because the only time in alcohol that a package store can be limited to more than 300 feet, and we have to extend that out to 1,000 feet, is if the school board approaches the city council requesting that extra space between the school and the package store. As far as putting vape shops in downtown, in the historic overlay district, it was said last week that it brings in characters that are not necessarily desirable, and it also incites violence. And there was a reference to a recent shooting in front of a vape shop, but that had nothing to do with it being a vape shop. That had everything to do with the difference between the owner-manager and the person who was doing the shooting. When we started doing a revitalization, one of the things that the council decided was that they did not want downtown or the HOD to turn into just a bunch of bars and smoke shops, barber shops, and et cetera. Businesses that were not boutique, that didn't have people just walking around and going from store to store. Currently, there are 8 locations in the historic district that serve alcohol, 2 of them on North 8th Street, 2 of them on Gray, and 4 on Avenue D. If any one of those bars goes out of business, or any of those locations, if they have a CUP to allow alcohol sales, or if they are under, or they're zoned a BC1 so that it can be a bar, if they go out of business, guess what? You've got your package store. You can't stop them. Legal non-conforming, let's talk about that for just 1 second. You're correct, everyone who has said that it would make it legal for them to continue to operate their business. However, what it does do is make it difficult to refinance, because now you are in an irregular zone. So the zoning doesn't match what you're legally allowed to have that business for. So if that business owner wants to refinance, they're going to have issues at the bank. Also, if they want to sell that as a vape store, they're going to have difficulties getting a bank to refinance or to finance that. There have been countless times that this council has been presented with zoning cases because they're trying to sell and it's non-conforming, legal non-conforming, bless you, but non-conforming all the same. The point I was trying to make last week is that marijuana is an illegal drug according to the state of Texas. The state of Texas has very high regulations on it, but yet the city of Killeen is allowing up to 4 ounces by ordinance to be held by a person in any location, and our police department, not anyone else, but our police department is told that they are not allowed to address that. There are no state regulations on where a vape shop can be, and let's not prevent future small businesses from coming in. Let's not give future small businesses trouble. Thank you.
Price.
Good evening once again, council, mayor. Non-conforming, if you don't present it in its full light, it's not telling the whole truth. Thanks to Mrs. Brown, we got a little bit more of the full truth of what's going to affect the current businesses. As you see, the penalties aren't always straight up and right out in front. They're kept behind, and none of you mentioned that. You made it like that those that come up here and oppose this are somehow lying to the public about the views of how the written rule is actually out there for non-conforming. There is the threat of the $500 fine, if so chosen to be done. If a new business comes in place and they are found in violation, that can happen to them. Okay, so the grandfather stuff doesn't happen to those people, they're non-conforming, but they have all the other restricted economic factors involved in that measure. That's not discussed and that's not disclosed. That's kept to yourselves. So if you're actually honest about it, be honest about it. Just because we don't sit up on the board or we don't own one of these businesses doesn't mean that we can't read what we read on the city website and how we see the laws, okay? The threat is there, the law is there. With this, I don't understand why it's not part of the syntax. Why didn't it fit in with the alcohol? You go up to Eielson, there's a Circle K right there selling all kinds of beer and e-cigarettes and everything else. But that's not part of this law. That's not part of this ordinance. I mean, they can 300 feet. But yet we're going to make a distinction solely about this. I just say it's a little hypocritical, right? But if you want to get the generality to it, syntax, fine, put it there. That's where it should be at. Be fair with it. Be fair with all the other stuff that's alcohol, or if you want to call it sinful or whatever, put it there. It has its place, it has its category. Thank you for your time.
Michael Fernino.
I'm going to construct the same argument that I did last week, but for the same reason and following on previous speakers. First, I think we can all agree, something we can agree on, we don't want vapor products and all the other exciting things that they do sell in the hands of minors. I think we can agree there. However, we have the Planning and Zoning Commission. They've made an overwhelming recommendation on this. Go with the committee. That's why we have the committees. We were just talking about committees earlier in the meeting. Now we contrast that where Councilman was worried that the bylaws were outrunning the governing standards. Well, that sounds like municipal law trying to supersede state law. So that all relates. Who is this proposed ordinance for if you do it? It's a feel-good measure. It doesn't accomplish anything. Those access points, if you will, are still going to be there. They are still going to be accessible, theoretically, to the people that you want it out of their hands, young hands. It doesn't solve a problem. All it is signing paperwork, and it's a feel-good measure. As stated, I've asked around. Additionally, something that I hadn't considered last week, it's not just the CBD oils and things and all the other cannabis stuff that I don't use. It's the gummies, right? They look like candies. That's what's showing up in the schools too. Do I want them in schools? No. But that's the fleas that came with the dog. How did we get there? Well, a certain proposition that you folks widely supported created the atmosphere because prior to that, vape shops weren't an issue. All of a sudden, a certain proposition got passed, and everybody seems to think that if it derives from marijuana, cannabis, whatever we want to call it, it's okay, and they're carrying stuff that either just toes the line and hangs its toenails over it, or completely shoots past. They got special stuff in the back. Chief of Police can address that better than I can. But none of this was a problem until everybody started listening to a certain group who, by the way, and this relates to where the bad advice came from, okay? Julie Oliver, if you're not following, Ground Game Texas, that was advocating for a lot of this atmosphere that made the vape shops possible, selling the products that you're all concerned with, was booted out of her own organization last week. Her own organization couldn't stand her. So once again, these are things that I myself argued till I blew in the face, that there's too many considerations here. As Mrs. Brown pointed out, it restricts it from some schools, but not others. And then you want to contrast beer joints downtown close to religious facilities. I mean, we're going in so many different directions, we're not solving anything. If anything, we're creating more confusion day by day by day. go with the board's recommendation, because even if you pass this, whatever problem you perceive that this is going to solve, it solves absolutely nothing. Then we can get into the business taxes and the refinancing and all that, but at the core of what I think that you think that you're trying to accomplish with this accomplishes absolutely, positively zero. It is, as again, it is a feel-good measure that doesn't solve a problem, because you're still going to have those existing shops, they're grandfathered in, and if they're allowing access by hook or by crook or by deception, if the people that we don't want to have those products, whatever they are, be they nicotine, CBD, whatever the pot stuff is, okay, they're still there. They're still the font and the source of what you're concerned about. You have solved absolutely nothing. I would just say go with the P&Z board, go with their recommendation, and there it is. I can't make it any more plain.
John Miller.
Good evening. How's everybody? How you doing, City Council? Let's first off by start me saying that I have a young daughter. She's 12. And when we moved in our house, there was no vape shop near us. Now there are 3. One directly across the street from the other one. I support the small businesses who are there. My concern I would like to bring up is the non-conforming, I don't know, what was the word? Legal non-conforming. I support that. Those businesses stay in place. Great. But as was brought up, and I thought about it quickly, they'll have problems later with selling or moving their businesses or selling or stuff like that. So why not issue them some sort of durable legal document, so when this city council leaves or another city council is in place or they try to sell it, they can take that to the bank and says, here, I'm legal and I don't have those kind of problems, right? Because we'll change regimes over time no matter what we do. But the person who owns that shop now might not own that shop 20 years from now. It may be handed down to their kids. But will they still be legal non-conforming and unable to sell that shop as a shop? So let's consider that. And do we also consider convenience stores that sell these same products? Now, it's been my experience that the young people are not getting these products that everybody seems to be concerned about from these shops. You must be 21 to enter, and the few I have been into hold to that. So I don't see how kids are getting them, but they can get them online or from other sources. Let's not blame the shop for them getting it. Let's blame the parents not telling the kids, don't do this. Just like alcohol, I couldn't drink until I was 21. Can't smoke until you're 21. We have signs, it used to be on every gas pump. If you buy a beer under 21, you lose your license. We can do the same thing for these vape shops. Get caught with a vape under 21, you don't get a driver's license until you're 21. How about that? I don't think these, I just wanted to think it through a little bit more, provide legal protections for down the line where people, something durable, and zoning certificates of some kind that makes it sure that the banks and the other financial institutions who may be financing them so the store owner won't have the problem of trying to fight for financing because the institutions think it's not legal to own that business. Now, I get you want to keep these business regulated. I don't think I need a vape shop across the street from another vape shop. I don't think I should be able to sit in my store to get candy out of a convenience store and there's a vape sitting right there as you check out. But this is the world we live in. I can't prepare my daughter for the world I grew up in because that world does not exist anymore. I have to prepare my daughter from the world that it is now and will be there when she becomes of age. I have to give her the tools to equip her to navigate these situations. And I believe if she one day wants to own a vape shop in the zone of B1 or B4, she's perfectly okay to do that. But she should not she should be able to buy one that's already existing and not feel that she can't get financing for it. That's all I got to say. Just want you guys to consider the long-term effects of what you guys are saying. Thank you.
Mr. Revelle. And City Attorney, I have a question. And my question is for a B4 and a B5, the ones that will not be affected by this ordinance if the council pass it. If you have a B4 or B5, you can sell it. You can do other types of business within it other than vape.
Yes, ma'am. Whatever is allowed in B4 and B5.
Correct.
Yes.
I want that to be clear. And also this $500 fine. Have anybody ever heard of that?
The only thing I can think of, if there's a code enforcement violation and they fail to self-remedy and it goes to municipal court, then there's an opportunity for a fine there. But that's the only thing I can think about.
Yeah, I just it don't sit well with me when an accusation is made that this council is trying to hide something or basically we lied about something. Because this is my first time ever hearing. Chief Lopez, do you know anything about a $500 fine?
No, ma'am.
City Attorney?
I mean, a $500 fine is normally what a Class C misdemeanor can be up to unless it's a health and safety issue. So, but without reference to what specific ordinance he's talking about, I wouldn't be able to directly address that. But there is no fine for a legal non-conforming use.
Right, because if things be thrown in the atmosphere, because people say it doesn't make it true, and then others follow suit. But this council does not hide anything. When we give our PowerPoint and we present something, it's transparency. This is the pros or cons to it. So we are not hiding anything. Anybody that go and move into that business, a vape shop, if this council approve it, they still can operate as a B4 and a B5. With that being said, thank you, Mr. Revelle. Thank you, City Attorney. Thank you, Chief Lopez. Councilmember Sagara.
Mayor, are we still in public hearing or?
Oh. Public hearing closed.
All right. Mayor, with that said, I'd like to make a motion to disapprove page 24-010.
Thank you very much for that. Councilmember Alvarez.
I'll second that, but I did have some discussion.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Sagara and a second by Councilmember Alvarez. Councilmember Alvarez, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I voiced some of these concerns when this was first brought up for consideration for a future agenda item. Was the enforcement of such an ordinance, I think, becomes a concern when you're talking about, you look at the definition here in the proposed ordinance, it says a business that receives at least 80% of its gross revenues from the sale of e-cigarettes. You know, that's a very difficult task for staff or code enforcement to be able to quantify or to get their hands on that information. And that's the only establishments that would be regulated by this proposed ordinance. It's not a 7-Eleven or a Mickey's or a convenience store that sells maybe 20% of their sales are vapes. Well, they're not. This doesn't affect them at all. This doesn't talk about them at all. And I voiced those concerns in the beginning, and I didn't know how or if we'd be able to overcome those concerns. And what I don't want to do is to have another ordinance on the books to where it's unenforceable. While I believe the intent of the ordinance is plausible, I don't know. Again, I don't think that this hits the mark with having something that is actually going to make a difference. The reality of it is kids are able to get their hands on vapes all different kind of places. Not to say that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have an ordinance, but I don't think that this version of it is the one that's going to make sense, at least to me, not at this time. So anyways, I just wanted to vocalize that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do anyone else have any more comments? Councilmember Solomon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm really, I'm concerned about this ordinance if we pass this because, it's just so many questions. One of the questions is, planning and zoning voted 7-0 to disapprove it. And I'm curious of why they did that. I mean, what was the findings? I know it was said the kids are not buying it. Now, I'm not for vapor at all, but it just concerns me because kids aren't buying it. They say kids aren't buying it. They're buying it online or else places. I believe if you put it 2,000 feet away from schools, they're going to find a way to get it. So that I'm concerned with that. I mean, does this really solve everything with vapor? Or we're just putting something in place to be putting something in place? I don't know how effective this would be. And just like one citizen said, that it doesn't cover every school. It doesn't cover the private schools. So that would be my concern about this whole thing of vapor. I think there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of concerns, and I think that we would really need to take the time out to do more research on it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All in favor, yes. All opposed, no.
And Mayor, I just want to clarify, we're voting yes to deny this.
That's your motion, sir. The motion is to deny it. We're not voting for it, we're denying it. Can't you reset, Madam Secretary?
Do I have to say that?
Denying it. If,
Yeah, a vote yes means to turn down the ordinance, to deny the ordinance.
Thank you.
thank you.
Do it.
The motion is 6-1.
Motion to adjourn.
Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
Second.
Meeting adjourned.